Welcome back to Bible and Blues, and today we are going to go over somebody that maybe you don't know about so well. This is in the Bible, in the Old Testament, a person named Naaman. We find him in 2 Kings chapter 5. I'll be reading from the New International Version and using Bible Gateway. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel here if you like this kind of thing. I also review movies and television series that I find on Netflix and Amazon Prime, just to see what the point of view from a Christian is. And I also do some music. And most recently I did a really entertaining one that you'll like, is God is Able. I took it normally done in a major key and I put it into a minor key. Then I made the mistake of singing, and I should have used auto-tune and I didn't, but that's okay. If you don't mind the fact that I'm actually singing the whole thing a semitone sharp, we're good to go. So without further ado, we're going to do 2 Kings chapter 5. Now Naaman was a commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. That would have been a really, really bad thing. Leprosy, even today, if it's gone unchecked, it's very disfiguring, of course. And at that time, there was no cure for it. So you would just essentially, you would have sores and infections, and eventually you would usually die from because of the infection. You were isolated, and even when you were out in public, you had to call out to say leper coming through, essentially, to give people a chance to get away from you, because they didn't want to be around you, because you didn't want to catch what you had. It was a horrible disease then. It is now, but it was so much worse then because we can cure it now. So you can imagine, as a commander of an army, to have this affliction, and he was actually known for being very intelligent and giving great victories and great strategist. But it doesn't matter how great you are if you're a leper. How's that? Continue. Now bands of raiders from Aram had gone out and taken captive a young girl from Israel. She served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." So here's where we see a circumstance of somebody who, we don't even know this girl's name. She was taken captive during a raid, and she's serving Naaman's wife, and she's getting this whole thing started. She gets this whole show going of for Naaman to get cured of leprosy. So Naaman went to his master and told him what the girl from Israel had said. "By all means go," the king of Aram replied. "I will send a letter to the king of Israel." So Naaman left, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. That's a lot. Then the letter that he took to the king of Israel read, "With this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you, so that you may cure him of his leprosy." So it was king to king. You cure him of his leprosy. As soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes, and he said, "Am I God? Can I kill and bring back to life? Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of leprosy? See, I was trying to pick a quarrel with me?" So he's all concerned now because, he can't do it. He's not, he's not the prophet in Samaria. He's a king. He's a king, but in the end, he's just another man. So he thinks he's just getting set up. That's his attitude. He's just getting set up here. When Elisha, and I could be mispronouncing that, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message: "Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Let's think what that probably looked like. Elisha would have had, he was a prophet, and he had servants, and Naaman didn't exactly travel alone. Okay, so Naaman went with horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to say to him, "Go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed." But Naaman went away angry and said, "I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and wave his hands over the spot and cure me of my leprosy." I just hear a lot of sarcasm in that. "Are not Abana and Pharpar," I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, "the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed?" So he turned and went off in a rage. He was mad. I mean, let's look at this. I mean, Elisha didn't even come out to see him. Okay, he's an important guy. He's pretty accustomed to getting some attention when he shows up. He showed up with his horses, his chariots, his men. They're all there, and Elisha sent out a messenger. "Go, wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed." And that's all the instruction he gets. But don't we do this kind of thing? Don't we have, first off, don't we all have a little bit of a puffed up, attitude about ourselves? And then we have expectation. We have an expectation that God's going to do something in this way, and then God does it this way, and it wasn't the way we wanted, and it wasn't what we expected, and so we did. God did it this way, and now we're mad. I mean, come on, it's God. It's his choice. His dealer's choice in this particular case. Continuing, Naaman's servants went to him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he tells you, 'Wash and be cleansed'?" So he went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the man of God had told him, and his flesh was restored, and became clean, like that of a young boy. So again, I want to point out, it was a servant who told him, who talked him down, essentially. And I do note here that in the NIV translation, I'll have to check to see if how other translations say it, but Naaman's servants went to him and said, "My father." So they called him "my father." And I'm not sure what that denotes. I'll have to dig deeper into that if I really want to know. If the prophet had told you to do some great thing, would you not have done it? And it's just, if the prophet had come out and said, in order to be healed of this, you have to go on this quest to through these mountains to this cliff to pluck this flower that it only grows on this cliff at this time of the year, and it must be plucked at sunrise and then ground up and as a poultice and drunk as a tea or applied, something incredible to cure him of this horrible disease. Okay? How much more then when he tells you, "Wash and be cleansed"? How much more then? I mean, it's a simple little thing. So basically, it's like, this wasn't my expectations. I wanted him to come out, wave his hands over me or something, and he didn't do anything. He just said, "Go take a bath 7 times," But as a result, he did what he was told. He was obedient in the end, and his flesh was restored and became like that of a young boy. So, so he wasn't just healed. The scars were gone. The boils were gone. He was healed completely, and his flesh was clean. So that's a real miracle there. Then Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. He stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant." The prophet answered, "As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept a thing." And even though Naaman urged him, he refused. So Elisha refused to take any money, anything, any gifts for his service. Probably he could have become an independently wealthy man, but instead said no. "If you will not," said Naaman, "please let me, your servant, be given as much earth as a pair of mules can carry. For your servant will never again make burnt offerings and sacrifices to any other god but the Lord." help me out here as my viewers tell me what's the significance of carrying the earth, and as much earth as a pair of mules can carry. And I'm going to think that perhaps it has to do with, in order to build a proper altar out of soil of Israel. I'm guessing. What do you think? So, but may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow down, and he is leaning on my arm, and I have to bow there also. When I bow down in the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord forgive your servant for this. Go in peace, Elisha said. So he was worried about something he had to do as one of his duties as a commander, for his king. Okay, something that could be construed visually, and I've read this several times now, but that's actually. That actually kind of strikes me as, in a way, in the way we live our lives today, of appearances. When I do something that I have to do because it just appears wrong, forgive me this. He's worried about appearances. So, I don't know, just kind of struck me. After Naaman had traveled some distance, Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said to himself, "My master was too easy on Naaman this Aramean, by not accepting from him what he brought. As surely as the Lord lives, I'll run after him and get something from him." His heart's not in the right place for this. I mean, you see this. He's worried about his master was too easy on Naaman, and so his heart's not in the right place for this. So Gehazi hurried after Naaman. When Naaman saw him running toward him, he got down from the chariot to meet him. "Is everything all right?" he asked. "Everything is all right," Gehazi answered. "My master sent me to say, 2 young men from the company of the prophets have just come to me from the hill country of Ephraim. Please give them a talent of silver and 2 sets of clothing." There's a lie. "By all means, take 2 talents, said Naaman. He urged Gehazi to accept them, and then tied the 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 sets of clothing. He gave them to two of his servants, and they carried them ahead of Gehazi. When Gehazi came to the hill, he took the things from the servants and put them away in the house. He sent the men away, and they left. So Naaman not only gives him the stuff, he sends him with a couple of his servants to carry the goods, and gives him more than he asked for, and gives him gives him a pair of servants to carry them. And when Gehazi came, he took him away from the servants, and he stows him away in the house. When he went in and stood before his master, Elisha asked him, "Where have you been, Gehazi?" "Your servant didn't go anywhere." That's 2 direct lies. A third if you count the fact that he stowed the stuff away before, so that's, I'm thinking Gehazi probably just wanted to keep the stuff for himself, actually. But Elisha said to him, "Was not my spirit with you when the man got down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to take money, or to accept clothes, or olive groves and vineyards, or flocks and herds, or male and female slaves? Naaman's leprosy will cling to you and to your descendants forever." Then Gehazi went from Elisha's presence, and his skin was leprous. It had become white as snow. So for his disobedience, Gehazi lied, essentially stole, because there was an indication by him putting the stuff away in the house before he went there. He went inside and saw his master, that he probably wasn't planning on telling his master about it. And then he tells Elisha he didn't go anywhere. "I didn't go anywhere. What are you talking about?" But he forgets Elisha was a prophet, and he knew. His spirit was with you. Was not my spirit with you when the man got down from his chariot to meet you? And we saw that when he hurried after Naaman. When Naaman saw him running toward him, he got down from the chariot to meet him. And so Elisha knew everything. And Gehazi paid a very high price for his disobedience and for his lying. So There's some good takeaways that we get from this. We saw where the young Israeli girl was being used to get the ball rolling on this whole scenario, and God started out working through her faith in a prophet of Israel, Elisha, and she had very strong she had very strong faith, and she couldn't stay silent about it. She couldn't keep quiet, even though she was a captive. I mean, she must have been treated fairly well for starters. However, still, other things other takeaways are Naaman was a wealthy, intellectually strong man who had power and he had wealth, and he was commander in chief of all the armies of Aram. Okay, and so in spite of all of this, he still had leprosy. So it didn't really matter all that in comparison. Um, Sometimes God doesn't work the way we expect. And it's like we were talking about how we expect God to do it this way for us. We pray to God and we ask for His benevolence, and we ask for Him to do this for us, and we ask for Him to do that for us. And God has a different plan than what our plans are. But that doesn't mean He's not working for us and on our behalf. Certainly, Naaman did not expect to be told to go take a bath in the River Jordan, but his ego got in the way. It was almost got in the way of his being healed. And we have the same kind of problem where when our ego gets in the way of us receiving the blessings of God, because we think it's all about us, and we think that it's because of our work that these things are happening, and it's when it's actually gifts coming from God, and we need to turn our eyes to God on these things. And ultimately, obedience the obedience to God was what healed Naaman, and our obedience to God will carry us through an awful lot. So, anyway, I want to thank you for being here with me tonight. Please make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this, and some music and some television reviews and things like that. Be sure to check out some of the other things I have going on. God bless. Have a great night.